Are you interested in learning how to make a senior shirt similar to this in either Silhouette Studio software or Cricut Design Space? Well, today on this video, I'm going to show you how you can make a shirt very much like this in Silhouette Studio. If you prefer Cricut Design Space, I have a separate video for that. Check out the video description under this video, and there will be a link to that video instead. Now, I made this shirt on one of my YouTube lives. I think it turned out super cute. I had some issues during the live. I wanted to do a step-by-step tutorial to show you exactly how you can do this too. If you're interested in that, sit back, relax, and let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Silhouette Studio. Now I have the business edition. This is the highest edition. It's a paid edition, but it's the only one where you can save your items as SVGs. I have various cutting machines and I sell designs on Etsy, so I do need to be able to save my designs as SVGs, so this is the one that I have. Now there is a font that has the look that I'm going for. Let me show you what that is. We're going to click on text. We're going to type right over here, 2025. Let's go ahead and select that and change it a color. You do that with this palette right here. We'll just change it black. And let's make it larger. So a font that is very much like what I want to use is called Varsity Regular. However, in my design, I want this outside line to be a different color than the inside line. That is very, very hard to do in this software. One time I was successful, and I did that by going to Object, Release Compound Path, and then I had to figure out what to do with each of these layers. It was very difficult for me. So I decided to figure out how to do that using a different font. All right, let's go ahead and get started on the tutorial now that you see the look that I'm going for. We're going to click right here on the A. That's the text tool. Click over here, and we're going right back to that 2025. To change it a color, I have to click off of it, back on it, and then let's change it black. Now the font that I'm going to use actually shows up as question marks. I got this font off of Creative Fabrica. It's called Varsity AB, and when I got it, it said it was for Windows only. Well, I use a Mac and it works for me, but you have to know that you're just looking for these question marks. If you don't want to deal with that, there is another font called University. You could use it as well. And there's others that are similar on Creative Fabrica. But I really love this font, so I'm going to click here. Let's go ahead and drag this quite a bit larger. That way we can really see what we're doing. Now in the end, I want my design to be about 9.5 inches wide. I'm going to start with it smaller because I'm going to spread those apart here in just a minute. And then I want my design to be about 5 inches tall. Notice this says 6.678. That's including a lot of space that really isn't the font. So let's just start by going to Object and Ungroup. Now I can see the true dimensions. I'm going to make it just a little bit shorter. And then because I want all those outline lines between the numbers, I need to spread these numbers out. I'm just going to move this one over quite a ways, and we're still at 9.462. That's probably going to be fine. I don't think that's going to be too large. With them all selected, after spacing one out, I'll go to Object, Align, and let's space those horizontally. That looks pretty good. I'm just going to move it over a little bit more and do that same process again. We'll go to Object, Align, and space horizontally. Just to make sure that the bottoms are all still together, we'll go back to Object, Align, and Align Bottom. Make it a little bit wider, and I think that's good. With them all still selected, let's go ahead and go to Object and Group. So the first step to creating that outside line with the space between the outside line and the numbers is to go right over here to the Offset tool. These are still selected, so I'll click on Offset. Then you can either do an internal offset, that's not what I want the offset. And I want the corners to be very squared off because the corners of this font are very squared off. So I'm going to click on this left side. I want mine to be a little bit larger than that. Let's go ahead and drag this. And I think that looks pretty good. Let's click apply. Now we're going to go change those a different color. We'll just turn them blue. And then notice each one is its individual item or its individual layer. See, I can move that one separately. Let's put those back where they go. I need to group those together. To me, the easiest way to do that is to go up here to Panels, select by color, click on the fill side, and then select everything that's blue. Now with them selected, I'll go up to Object and Group. To finish this out, I need to do one more offset. Currently, my blue offset is selected. With it selected, I'll go back to Offset, click on Offset again, and then this time I want this offset to be just a little bit larger than that. I'm going to go up to 0.1. Hopefully it'll fit in there. Now I can see there's space between the lines, so I think that's fine. Let me change it a color. In the end, it's going to be gold, so I'll go ahead and turn it gold now. Okay, and there's plenty of room in there. I want to group those together, so with them all selected, I'll go to Object and Group. I'm going to move this 2025 out of the way. We're going to bring that back here in just a minute. But to make the space between the 2025 and that gold layer, I'm going to select both of these layers, go up to Object, Modify, and Subtract. If I put this back into place and go ahead and, all right, I noticed when I did that, the yellow ones were apart. So let's go up to Panels, select by color again. Now let's select the gold ones and group those together. To do that, you go to Object and Group. Now I want to make sure these are all aligned correctly. So I am going to go to Object, Align, and I'm going to center them both vertically and horizontally. Now it's in the right place. Now the inside of my letters is going to be maroon. So let me go ahead and select the black layer, go up here to the color panel, and let's change that to maroon. Now I want to go ahead and group those together. And that's important for the next couple of steps. So I have my 2025. Now it's time to add a name. Now I'm going to add the name Gracie. You could add a student's name, or if you wanted to make a lot of these and sell them at a craft show, you could use the name of your local high school mascot. So if your high school's mascot is the Lions, then you could type Lions and use that in place of the name. But for me, I'm going to type in the name Gracie. I'll go right back over here to the text tool, click on it, click on my canvas, and I'll type Gracie. I'll click off of it and back on it to change it a color. And I'm just going to use gray. Now there's really no need to size it right now until you change the font. I'm just changing it so that we can see it better. With it selected, I'm going to go right up here and find my font. And the font that I want to use is Bastion. This is another font that I got off of Creative Fabrica. Now I'm going to link these just in case you're interested. And if you don't have a Creative Fabrica membership, I will have a free trial link in the video description below. Now remember, when you type something, you're going to have extra space, and so this number is going to be incorrect. We're going to go to Object and Ungroup, and now we can see that Gracie is about 7.3 inches tall. What I want is about 5 inches tall. So I'm just going to drag this up until it's about the height I want. And I think it's a little too wide, so let's go ahead and make it narrower. All right, that looks pretty good. Let me change this a lighter color so that I can show you if I were to send this to the cutter right now, I would have a cut line here, here, and here. Let's go up to Object, Modify, and Weld. Now in Silhouette, unlike Cricut, When you weld things, the only things that stay together are those things that we're touching. Let me click back. I'll click back one more time. They should be selected. And so in addition to welding, I also want to go up to Object and Group. When I cut this, Gracie is going to be cut out of white HDV, so I'm going to change this to a gray color to represent that. Now, do you ever get tired of those red lines, those red cut lines around your designs? To get rid of those, you can go up to Panels, Line Style, click on this second set of lines, and then if you click here, this means transparent, they'll go away. Now I want to go to Panels and click on Fill Color so that the next time I change a color, it's going to be the fill color and it's not going to add a line color. Now let's go ahead and see if Gracie is pretty well centered. I'll select everything, go to Object, Align, and Align Center. I like that. I just want to move it to the right just a tiny bit. Sometimes even though something is centered technically, to me it doesn't look right. And so I always look at things and just see if there's a slight modification I want to make. Now for the design that I want, there's one more main step. I want to have a slight offset of Gracie that I slice out of my design. So I'm going to select Gracie. I'm going to go right back over here to the offset panel. We'll click on offset. Now this time I want this to be really small, so I'm going to use 0.06. We'll click apply, and then let's turn that a color so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, I think that's a good size. Notice nothing is grouped together, so I'm going to go up to Object and Group. Now I want to reserve this. This is what I'll use to cut out my white HTV. We'll move that over here. Then I'm going to select all three of these. Go right up here to Object, Modify, and Subtract. Now, any step that you do in Silhouette makes everything ungroup. So notice this is by itself. This is by itself. Let me put those back where they go. And so one last time I need to go through the steps of going to Panel, select by color. Let's select the gold layer. Group it together by going to Object and Group. Then I'm going to click over here on the maroon. Group it together also by going to Object and Group. Now if I set Gracie up in here, this is exactly the look that I want. Now I've already cut out the materials. I did that when I was making a different video showing how to make this design in Cricut Design Space. So at this point, I'm going to pick up the video when I was weeding my materials, and then I'll show you how to layer this on your shirt. Now these can be just a little bit tricky to weed. And so if you need to refer back to your computer to see the design, go ahead and do that. Better safe than sorry. We have our gold outline. We have our maroon inside. Now, I'm not going to lay these perfectly right now. I just want you to have a general idea. And then we have the name Gracie. The first layer that we're going to do is this outside layer. When I made this shirt on my live, I made the mistake of folding the two sticky sides together to find the center. This time I'll do it the right way, and I want to get the sides of this together. Then at the top and the bottom, where there's no vinyl, I can make a crease. That should be the center. And I can see from weeding it, I have two tiny little gold pieces missing. Hopefully that doesn't make this look bad. When you're weeding, be more careful than I was. All right, let me hold this up, take a look at it. This first layer is part of a multi-pack that I bought. And when I got it, I wrote the instructions. It's a cold peel, and you do it at 305 for 10 to 15 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and press this on. I'll be right back. Because this is going to get 2 more presses, I went ahead and did it just for the 10 seconds at 305. So I went with the minimum time and the minimum temperature. This is still warm and it's a cold peel, so I'm just going to have to be patient or put a ceramic or a porcelain tile on top to pull out that heat. By doing this outside layer first, you have the outline for everything else you need to put on here. Let's take a little peek. That is coming off perfectly fine. Now it's time for the second layer. This is a Caesar Easy Weed. I'm going to go ahead and keep it at 305 for 10 seconds. That looks good. Let's go ahead and press the second layer. This maroon layer is a warm peel. Now for our final layer, let's go ahead and put Gracie on. Now I need to see what temperature this is supposed to be pressed at. Let me find my box. This is some Hippo HTV. I don't even know if they still sell this, but it does say a temperature of 285 to 305, medium pressure, 12 to 15 seconds, and cold peel. My heat press is on 305. It's set for 10 seconds. I'll go ahead and bump it up to 15. Then when this comes off the press, we'll let it cool all the way back down. Also, my HTV ROT has a Teflon sheet attached to the top platen, so I don't have to worry about all of this exposed getting attached to the top platen. If you don't have a Teflon sheet on yours, I would suggest go ahead and put a Teflon sheet over this to protect it from that heat. Now, I don't like the fact that the edge of this carrier sheet is on my vinyl. So I'm going to put something between those two layers. I could either put another Teflon sheet, or in this case, I do have this parchment paper. So I'm just going to sneak that under there. And hopefully this will protect the vinyl underneath of it somewhat from getting a press mark where this carrier sheet ends. We'll find out in a minute. Before I press this, I noticed that that carrier sheet was also in the middle over here and over here, so I added 2 more pieces of parchment paper. Now remember, this is a cold peel, so we'll let that cool off a little bit more. You can fan your shirt, you can put a tile on it, or you can just have good old-fashioned patience. Let's go ahead and see if it's releasing. Okay, it is releasing. Now I do want to warn you, if you have something and it says it's a cold peel, and if you take it off too soon, you can stretch your HTV, and then it'll have kind of wobbles in it, or little waves in it. So be sure and wait long enough so that doesn't happen. This looks pretty good, but I can see the marks where the carrier sheet was there, as well as here and here. Let me show that to you. Hopefully with one more pressing, those will even out some. I don't know if they'll go all the way away, but I'm going to go ahead and press this one more time for 10 seconds. And fortunately, for the most part, those really did go away. I can see a slight indentation right there, a slight one here, but for the most part, they did go away. I think it looks great. So let me know, is this something you're going to try? Are you going to personalize it with the name down here? In the middle, are you going to use a school mascot so you can make many of these without having to redesign each time? Let me know what you think. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that. If you do, tap that bell and then select the all notification. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content.